just joining us right now, this is Cody with Nostalgic Nebula. I'm here with my co-host Ivotres Littles of horror movies and beyond. We're doing Convo, Fango. Ivotres, want to introduce everybody now that we have a full deck here for anybody that just joined us?
Yes, but before I do that, I do have to tell like everybody who's watching, you get an awesome discount for this event through Fangoria. All you use is Creepshow 25 and you get 25% off. Some amazing Fangoria magazine collectibles and stuff like that. So 25%
I like
off.
the one. I like the one with the red and the yeah, that's a good one.
I'm looking over here.
One in your right hand. Yeah.
Collectors.
Yeah.
That's a collector's item.
Yeah, so it's Creepshow 25 and you get 25% off. So now let me introduce the panel we have. So we have Tom Wright. He was in Creepshow 2 and he was the hitchhiker, the actual hitchhiker. So welcome. We also have Barbara Crampton that was in the Creepshow TV series that just came out this year. And it was season 2, episode 4 called Pipe Screams. And that was really creepy. We also have Stephen Langford, who is the writer of season 1, episode 6 of Skin Crawlers, as well as The Right Stuff that came out in season 2, episode 3.
Right.
And also Josh Malerman. Oh, I hope I said that right? Yeah.
Whatever.
Okay. Who's a writer, also a musician, who wrote the House of the Head. I always say it the other round, and it looks like that. So, and we're gonna talk more about that. That was season 2, episode 1, and we also have the film composer of probably almost all of them, if not all of them.
How did that happen? That's amazing. Yeah.
Christopher Drake, that's amazing. So he gave us the sound, the scariness, and everything else in between. So let's get started along with my co-hosts from Nostalgic Nebula, Cody Chavez. So, and I'm here, with a bunch of stuff to, remind us how awesome Creepshow is and how much it means to me growing up watching this, and especially just able to sit here to talk to you guys. I'm just mind blown, so excited. And I made this to because don't have anyone from Creepshow, which is totally fine, but I'm halfway there with Gordy, when he touched the meteor. So I had to make something that's one of my favorites from that one. And I just thought, I felt so bad for him. And you can't. Poor
Do you
thing.
remember how old you were the first time you saw Creepshow?
Well, that came out in 82. I was 2.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
You saw it when you were 2. Wow, I made it.
I probably saw the VHS. Oh my God, probably when I was in like 10 years old or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So Creepshow 2, I also saw the VHS as well. And that's a funny story in itself. So, but of course, to continue on, I have, Father's Day and some cockroaches. And also, I do have these kind of wormy things from Skin Crawlers. I didn't have anything that looked like it. So I just, something similar to it. So cockroaches, Skin Crawlers, Father's Day, some weeds growing crazy, have the crate, the head, Thanks for the Ride Lady, Dover, where he was going. And also the picture from Pipe Screams when the little girl drew
Nice.
Victoria.
Yeah.
So
that's
it's
awesome.
right there. Let me move that out the way.
Yeah.
And if you can count how many references are behind Ivotres, you at home can win nothing but.
So, and I also have another dress change as we talk. Ooh. So you may see me become something else.
Okay.
And also have to represent the Creepshow.
Oh, yes.
So.
Woo! Nice.
So, yes. So let's begin. Oh my goodness. It's like hard to, it's like, I want to talk and, talk about everything. But I really, let's start with Creepshow, the first one. Did any of you guys like have a favorite one from Creepshow that came out in 1982? Any favorites?
The first movie. Well, the Crate made an impression for sure.
Oh yeah, it really did.
Yeah. I don't know. They all just felt like they had a different personality. They had so many good actors in them, actors of note already that, decided to be in the movie. And I thought all the stories were great. It was very exciting I didn't see it when it first came out. I probably saw it 10 years later or so, but loved it, and I don't know, maybe with this, I think with the Creepshow TV series now, I think that people are becoming more interested in anthologies, because I think for a while, they weren't really making them, or it seems like maybe they're hard to sell, or it seems like, a lot of companies aren't interested in making them, because I don't think they sell very well overseas. But now I think people are a little bit more interested. I just see the glimmerings of different people making them over this past year. And I have a feeling that's due to the resurgence of the Creepshow series.
I think the thing with anthologies and what makes Creepshow different from like a Twilight Zone or the Night Gallery or a Black Mirror is the sense of fun about Creepshow. That's
true.
And I've always between the comic book construct, the color, and even the music, I've always felt like, I like a good Cabernet and a steak, filet mignon, and that's Rod Serling in the Twilight Zone. But sometimes you just want to listen to Van Halen and have pizza, and that's Creepshow.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think there is a sense of fun for the show, and definitely with the movies as well. That's the tone. And I think we all just need to have some fun after the pandemic. Yeah. I think movies have taken a little bit of a turn. When Freaky came out earlier this year, I watched that, and that was kind of in the middle of the pandemic, and I went, oh my God, thank God I get to laugh at a horror movie, and I'm having so much fun with it. And it seemed to hit right at the right time, and everybody just felt like, I don't know, just buoyed by the sense of just camaraderie we all had talking about that movie online and whatever. It just felt refreshing in a way.
I think Creepshow was the second horror movie I ever saw, and the first one was Twilight Zone the movie. So like my introduction to the genre was all anthology, and what an intro, because from the word go, there was this sense of like you didn't have to experience or only have a single narrative or a single idea, right? And I still feel that way now, like a million ideas going at once and this kind of thing. And I do wonder, Barbara, what you were saying about some comeback with the anthology idea, because people, I don't want to say that the attention deficit, that kind of thing, but it does seem like people do like smaller chunks now, and like to I have also noticed like a resurgence in anthology and stuff, and it's always been like my favorite kind of thing. I even sort of see the novels I write as like episodes. Like Bird Box was episode 1 of the show, and then Black Man Wheel was episode 2, and I guess I'm the creep or Rod Serling. I'm the host, the silent host or something. And there's I'm definitely the creep, and it's definitely like what a springboard. If I had a kid, I don't have a kid. If I did, I would love to introduce him or her the same way I was introduced, with this like the elasticity of so many stories in one movie.
Yeah. I mean, what you're saying though about a short attention span, I don't know, maybe, we keep talking about that. A lot of people are surmising that. I know I have kids and they're teenagers, and they watch a lot of stuff on YouTube, and that's short. And I think that's why they thought Quibi was a good idea. Wasn't it Quibi? Was that what it was?
Yeah.
But it wasn't a good idea, was it? Because nobody watched it.
No.
So if you're going to have short episodes, they have to be about something, or they have to be something. So there is something about the horror genre. We are a really strong community, and Quibi was just these short little things. Maybe that works for YouTube when people can just fish around.
That wasn't going to work.
No, that wasn't going to work. Why do you think that didn't work?
Oh, well, first of all, the thing was that it opened when the pandemic started, at a time when everyone wanted to see a lot of long stories.
Yes, we wanted to dig deep because we were all home, and everybody did dig deep, didn't we? We got so into our characters and the TV
timing
shows.
was awful.
That's true too. That is true. What I was suppositioning was that maybe because we're a horror community and we just love our characters and we love our monsters and we just love stories that just take us somewhere else, then maybe we're the right kind of audience for anthologies. I don't know. Could that be true, or is that not true? Is it, do they make anthologies of other kinds of dramas or love stories? I don't see that.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I believe they are doing it now. It used to be the reason that was said back, I would say probably in the 90s, was that it was hard to syndicate because there wasn't a continuing character running through the show. That was like kind of the base.
The prevailing wisdom at the time.
Prevailing wisdom was there wasn't a, because I worked with the Duddlesons who had owned the rights to Creepshow, and I remember people coming in and trying to figure out how to do a continuing character in the show, and of course that was never really going to work out that way.
Well, that would be like Quantum Leap.
Yeah,
that'd be Quantum Leap, like one character that goes to different places.
Yeah, it was like we were pitched something about these two people, like a Scully and Mulder type of thing in Creepshow, and that was a ways back, but now it's not. It's like since Black Mirror, and people's viewing habits have changed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a lot of great information. Thank you very much. So let's move on to Creepshow 2. Tom Wright here. I have to say, of all the segments, The Hitchhiker was the scariest for me growing up. I was terrified. I couldn't figure out why I was terrified, but it was scary. And then my mom and my sisters would drive the car. Thanks for the ride, lady. They would say that everywhere. So that was it like really branded on me.
Yeah.
Playing that character, I have to ask you this.
Sure.
Did you do a lot of those stunts? Because it seemed like
I did all of them.
Oh,
Because,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
For 10 years while living in New York, I was a theater actor to begin with, and I stumbled my way into stunts by working on a film called The Wanderers, the Philip Kaufman movie in '78, and I somehow got interested in doing stunts, and I trained for like 2 or 3 years. And the reason they hired me for Creepshow 2 was because I could do all my own stunts. So that and I've always loved the horror genre, and to get an opportunity to play an iconic character, one who never dies quite. Was a thrill for me. It was really fun. The most hairy stunt gag was when the car crashes through the guardrail and goes down the gravel pit. I was actually tied into the front bumper. They took the radiator out of the car and put it in the trunk, so I could put my left leg alongside of the engine. And we hit about 40 miles an hour and crashed.
Oh, no, that sounds kind of dangerous.
That's me banging on the hood, but it was a lot of fun. But to sort of try to combine that with there's a slight bit of camp as well. I mean, the repeating "thanks for the ride, lady" it's a one line running gag. So for me, it was just really interesting to sort of combine these things.
Oh, okay.
Was there ever a point that doing the stunt work, Tom, that you actually got scared in the moment, or kind of like something felt a little you know?
No,
Off?
not really, because the people that I was working with who were gaffing the stunts we really went over all of them very carefully, simply because there was no double. If I were to get hurt,
Right.
They would have to shut down production. So we
Right.
were very, very cautious in how we approached the technical aspect of designing each particular gag.
Cool.
Yeah, and I will say the highlight for me was sharing I got to share my trailer with Stephen King for a night.
Oh,
Really?
how was that experience?
That was scary.
You were telling stories to each other, campfire.
Well, I just made sure I kept him within eyesight, and I kept the door unlocked, but he was a delightful guy and with an incredible sense of humor and an extremely far-reaching intelligence. He talked really fast. He told a lot of stories, and it was really quite one of those top 10 sort of working experiences.
Wow.
Oh, okay. How did you get that role? Did you audition for it, or they were like, "Hey, you want to play this hitchhiker?" That's like scary.
I jumped on Michael Gornick's car as he was backing out of his driveway and said, "Thanks for the ride." And I just auditioned for it like everyone else, but this was a different type of audition because I mean you can't stand in front of a camera and say 32 times "Thanks for the ride, lady." It was more about the discussion in a meeting about what the filmmakers were attempting to do and how I fit into that, and what sort of ideas I might have to help round out the characters so that it would make for a memorable piece. So we really Michael Gornick and I had a really long discussion.
Oh, okay. And you're not a stranger of any anthologies, because also Tales from the Crypt, you were in that one, and Tales from the Hood.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that was Tales from the Hood was pretty awesome.
Tales from the Hood was really, really fun. And I got Tales from the Hood because Rusty and Darren were big fans of Creepshow too.
And Rusty directing in Creepshow season 2 and season 3.
Yeah.
Oh, is
that's
that
right.
Rusty Cundiff? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Yeah, he directed Sibling Rivalry, this vampire story in season 2.
Oh, terrific! He's a great guy. I really had a great time working with he and Darren, the producer.
Okay, so then those great ones happen. We have Creepshow 2, and it spawned something even more fantastic. Once Shudder got the rights to Creepshow, and Greg Nicotero was like, "Oh, let me grab onto this," created the Creepshow TV series, which I think is so awesome because you could still feel that nostalgia from the first one and the second one, and also that they have big name stars in there as well, and it just brought back so many memories of me as a kid watching the first one and the second one. And the stories are the same. It has the lights, the different colors and stuff like that happens to when each character is about to get devoured or brutally murdered or dismembered or some kind of weird way. And so bring us to the Creepshow TV series, and it's currently streaming on Shudder. And I have to go, first person I'm going to go with is Barbara. So Barbara, of course, you did Pipe Screams, you play Victoria, and it's about a slumlord that meet her untimely doom after a plumber battles a clogged drain creature of some sort.
Yeah.
How much fun was that, Barbara, being on there? Because it looked like you had loads of fun. Everybody was laughing and ugh.
Well, it was a lot of fun. You know, I know Joe Lynch, and he asked Greg when he got the script for it. He said, you know, I'd love it if Barbara Crampton would do this part. And Greg said, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, so you know, that was a pretty easy casting thing. And then I was trying to come up with the way to play her. You know, she's an awful person, and one of the reasons I wanted to do it too is because I usually play nice people. I do play some bad characters, but mostly I'm known for playing warm, sweet, you know, nice people. And this woman had no redeeming qualities at all. And it was around the time that, right, Christopher?
I love it. I love it.
But it was around the time that, remember that lady that was in Central Park? She was that Karen who was being really mean to the bird watcher.
Yeah.
And he was, you know, and she was like, stop filming me, stop filming me. And she had her dog by the leash, and she was practically strangling her dog. I'm calling the police and saying there's a man out here who's you know, or did she say black man? I don't even know. I think maybe she did. But he's attacking me, or, you know, I'm fearful for my life or something. And he was like so calm. And I was so glad that we saw that footage. She was just an awful person. That's who I modeled my character after, was that woman. Wow. And you know, that was like the birth of the Karen. For some reason during the pandemic, all these ladies went crazy. And there was another lady that was in a grocery store, and they were telling her to wear a mask. Do you remember this? This was in Florida. And she wouldn't wear a mask. And so she took all of her stuff out of her shopping cart, and she was throwing it on the ground. There, see, you know, like, are these people for real? And so I, you know, Creepshow being Creepshow, I thought, you know, this is a chance for me to also have a Nicolas Cage moment. Really kind of go all out.
Yeah, she was nasty.
Right? And
can I just say that I think, you know, there are exploitation that we have for films, you know, black exploitation, hagsploitation, which is Betty Davis and Joe Roberts. I think
bring that back.
Karen exploitation on Creepshow.
Karen exploitation, yeah. But now, as I get older, though, Christopher, I'm all for hagsploitation coming back, the hag horror, because I feel like the last few things I've done kind of gone into that territory, and I'm not, you know, I'm not unhappy about it, to be honest with you. But yeah, that whole Karen stuff, it was extreme. And then in my episode was Eric Edelstein, he's in this TV series called We Care Bears, or the Care Bears or something. I don't know. He's just such a sweet guy. He's so tall, you know, and I'm little, and I'm being really mean to him and yelling at him. And then we had Selena Andus, who was on WandaVision. She played one of these gals who was in the apartment building, and her daughter was the one who drew that picture. That's my son. He's home from college. That's Luke.
Hi.
Hi. He just came back from a run. And anyway, let me just say, working on the show, when I got there, it was in the middle of the pandemic, and everybody had to wear a mask. And it was my first experience working the pandemic with, you know, the nasal swabs, and had to be tested before you get on the plane, once you got off the plane, when you're on the set, every other day. But everything went fine. Nobody got COVID that I'm aware of. And everybody was really careful. And I just felt so well taken care of. We shot on a sound stage. I know all the episodes weren't shot on, all the episodes were not shot on all the sound stages, but our episode was, and I haven't worked on a sound stage in a long time. And it's such a great experience because it was just so much easier to be on a sound stage and being able to move a wall out if you wanted to, and, you know, come around for coverage. And it was just so nice. And I wore they wanted me to cut my hair to look like a Karen. And I said, what am I going to do after? if I cut my hair? Then I have to walk around looking like a Karen. I said, no, I can't do that. So they got me a wig, and the makeup and hair people were great, of course. And the special effects team was amazing. One of the guys who worked on the show with us had worked on From Beyond 35 years ago. And Greg also worked on From Beyond. So it was.
Do you remember who that was? Who was it?
His last name is Crognoli, C-R-O-G.
Oh, Gino.
It was Gino. Gino was there. And I was like, oh my God, I felt like crying because I hadn't seen him in forever. And here he is. And here I am now 35 years later doing something with those guys. And that was
great.
That really meant something to me, especially during the pandemic and whatever. It's just like, I was just happy to be working and then to see those guys, it was really heartwarming and everything went great. What can I say? It was a fantastic show to work on. Everybody's wonderful. You know, yeah. I loved it.
It did look fantastic, but I have a question. The scene when you were backing away and whatever that clock thing dragged you into that
cloggy.
Yeah. Did you do your own stunt and then it didn't work out?
Yeah, my leg went up. My leg was up like this. Yeah, my leg was way up.
I was thinking that you probably tried it and was like, no, this is not going to work. And they had to get a stunt double to do it for you.
You're giving me too much credit, Ivotres. They got a stunt double from the very beginning. They're like, no,
that was homage to the raft.
Yes, it was.
Yeah,
it was. And that was one of, I couldn't believe it because that was one of my favorite moments, as far as like a stunt that they did in the whole series, of the movies. And then when they said, oh, we're going to do this in your episode, I couldn't believe it. I was like, really? That's so cool. I get to do that. But really it was the stunt double that we both got to do it, but they cut a big hole and because it was a soundstage and there was a lot of room underneath and I got sucked down. And then there was a nice gal underneath and she had her leg up and she's really flexible. And I don't know, I thought it was cool after they did it. I love special effects and I love stunts and stuff like that. And, I don't get to do any of that, but I love seeing it. So yeah, that was a fun homage. And I think the TV show, like we were saying, gives a lot of homages to our favorite things, from the past, from the movies and yeah.
Yeah, so. And on that note, I want to give big props to KNBFX. I love it's a perfect mixture of practical effects along with the CGI to fill in the creases and everything. And as you were saying, homages and such. I love that episode especially because of all the Evil Dead 2 references. I think Joe Lynch, directed that perfectly. With all the action, getting
with the
clog.
Yes, right, with the cloggy and the cloggy looked like. At different times it looked like hair, other times it looked like something much worse, crawling across the ground. And the effect for that was amazing. Yeah. Really, it was really disgusting. Isn't it funny that we celebrate the disgustingness? Because we look at something and we go, that's disgusting. That's awesome, right?
We were talking about the going to Universal Studios and the horror nights. And there's two kinds of people that go through Horror Nights maze. The kind of people that freak out and scream and cry. And there's the people, probably like most of us, that stop and go, wait, oh, look at the thing on the wall. That's really cool. Look at this puppet, or look at the makeup on this actress. And they have to like push us to get us through the thing. Like I went to go through a Horror Nights with Greg Nicotero, and it's just like, just stopping to like look at everything while everyone's having a nervous breakdown around it.
Right. And you guys were inspecting it. Like, oh, yeah. How do they do that?
How do they do that? Taking notes.
Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna move on to another guest here, Stephen Langford, who wrote Right Snuff. Did I say that? Right Snuff. Yeah. And Skin Crawlers. Right Snuff had some really interesting things going on with that one, with the two astronauts trying to make history of meeting an alien, but one decided to do something that created a moon to just destroy planet Earth. So, and also Skin Crawlers you did as well. Hey, you want to lose weight, really fast. Let's find some foreign monster and, you know, have it suck the fat out of you, but you don't know that it left something behind. Tell us about those stories, because they seem to be more real life than make believe.
Well, you know, I think the thing is that, you know, when we look at Creepshow also is more as telling a little moral tale of some kind. In the case of Skin Crawlers, you know, that was about how the weight loss industry, you know, treats people and what they do and what, you know, how they're such profiteers and such. But that was actually Skin Crawlers and Right Snuff were both pitched for the first season, and Greg had fallen in love with both, and he just couldn't figure out how to do Right Snuff for a price. But he was obsessed with it so that when the season 2 came, he like, bam, let's go do this one. He figured it out. But in the case of, but ironically on the pitch sheet, Skin Crawlers and Right Snuff are you know, number 6 and number 7. They're right next to each other. And how that, Paul came up with the idea for Skin Crawlers, but he'd had it for a long time. He had been kind of an Indiana Jones type of character and go on these adventures. Like he was in an Indonesian jungle in some swamp, and he was wading through some swamp, and he came out of it, and he found like little bites, you know, all over his body. And he realized it had been, you know, that leeches had attached to him. And he thought to himself, well, I know what they took out, but what did they put in? And that's where Skin Crawlers was born out of that experience. And then it was it was so much fun to write. But I have to say that when we got to the big scene, big finale, you just sit here, you feel like a pair of naughty boys when you're writing, going, oh, this is going to be really screwed up. Because you can imagine, but in a way you can't imagine, because you know, KB's going to like bring all these crazy things to it. And so the fun thing about it is that I watch it like a viewer. You know, it's like I'm enjoying it like everybody else, because I can't quite imagine how they're going to do it. And it's just extraordinary. But it was, and I was just like, it was phenomenal. And the Right Snuff was my idea. I came up with that one. I'd always been like a sci-fi fanatic, Twilight Zone, and Paul too. But we just saw this idea of wanting to be first, and then we started thinking, like, let's really, in this case, we want to go, let's get deeper into the characters this time, because the network had asked about, can we get deeper into the characters? So we said, okay, we'll get deeper into this. We'll really talk about someone, and I see, in a way, Alex Toomey he's a Stephen King Easter egg, because many of a few of Stephen King's books are about these flawed, broken people, like broken by their father, that they've got all this angst inside that's driving them do these terrible things. So that was sort of like a literary Easter egg in a sense, but it was great to really say, like, this guy's really damaged. You know, really get the depth of his damage and why he's damaged, and how because he has never dealt with that damage, he ends up destroying the world. So that was
that's a pretty big message.
That's an
ambitious message for that show, but it worked.
The truth, anthology in the beginning of anthology was like Rod Serling and Twilight Zone. That was why he did it. He did it because he knew in the 1950s and 60s he could talk about things they would never let them talk about on TV, in the form of science fiction. So it's sort of in that way, salute to anthology shows that we did that, because this is at its core, what they were about is that, we can talk about, things that are in depth, but it's also in the Creepshow universe, we like to build up the person that's at fault for their self-destruction or being eaten or whatever. Because I mean that is part of the fun. That's part of the original intent.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're both really big stories. As soon as I watched them both, I was like, wow, there's some deep messages here.
Can we take a moment? Can we take a moment to also acknowledge Right Snuff not only was the first space science fiction Creepshow in space. It's also the first Creepshow where literally the entire Earth and all of its inhabitants are killed. So talk about ambitious.
Yeah.
That's I mean, you killed everybody. That's pretty incredible.
Yes.
There was nobody left.
We killed almost everybody in the TV studio, but that wasn't enough. We had to go all the way.
Yeah.
All right, man.
But I loved it because I loved it because it really was a big story. It really was strong. You know, it really had an interesting message, great performances, cool set. I mean, everything for me really worked in that episode so well.
It's so funny you said that when you were there, it looked like a small set.
Yeah.
Because Greg
Isn't that amazing?
Greg sent me on his iPhone a tour of the set, last summer. And on the iPhone, I go, oh my God, this thing looked huge on his iPhone. I had no idea that it was small.
Walking on it, I was like, it's kind of dinky. It's kind of little, you know? And then I don't know if they had a fisheye lens or something. There was a point on the set where there's like two hallways that meet, you know, it was like a T. And I remember standing in that T and thinking, oh, it's not that big. But then when I saw it on the show, I went, oh, the way they filmed it, it looked so much bigger. It was so much more impactful.
Well, they were trying to get kind of a retro thing going. And I remember when we were doing story meetings, Greg was showing us pictures of different things. We were looking at 2001, which looked at Space 1999 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then
Andromeda Strain.
In the end, it was Andromeda Strain was the
is that
choice.
Right?
Well, remember they had a certain level, it was an orange level. They had different colored levels.
Yeah.
And so it was more of that kind of a feel that they finally landed on. But they knew it was going to be.
I was just gonna say we even tried to do the music was like Gil Malay's electronic score, but it was too weird for the network, so we just were like Goldsmith. Let's just stick with Goldsmith. Let's do Alien.
Yeah.
Well,
that was that.
Yeah.
Oh, so there's a lost score then.
Yeah, I'll shoot you an email with an MP3 a little bit later.
Okay.
I wanted to.
But I think for Rob Draper's cinematography too, he's very old school, and the stuff looks deep. You know, it doesn't look flat like a lot of video stuff looks. You know, he's the lighting and everything. It's not. You know, there's just a lot more contrast going on that he's working with. He has a fantastic team as well. Draper's the real deal, and he's got. I mean, this guy shot Tales from the Dark Side of the movie. When we talk about the unofficial Creepshow 3 that Harrison directed, and I remember when we did Night of the Paw, that has all those in-camera lighting transitions. They could have been digital, they could have been blue screen, but I remember telling Harrison, like, how great is it that you guys went with practical lighting, like theatrical lighting transitions? And it really brings a level of craft to the show. And it's a low budget show, but I'll be damned if Draper and the production team pull it together. So let's talk about the production design a little bit too, because really on the Right Stuff, as I said, I thought it was fantastic, but also in the set that I was in, they created a whole basement out of nothing because it was a sound stage. And it looked like peeling paint on the walls and the old, washers and dryers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think all the episodes that are shot on the stage look like that. They have that believability. I thought the production design team was amazing too.
It's amazing. And the other thing that's amazing that kind of broke my brain a couple seconds ago is hearing Barbara talk about when she was on the set. I'm envisioning you in character, in costume, from pipe screams walking around on a space station going, what? It's so small. This is a space station? This is a space station?
Yeah,
That is funny.
I was probably a little bit in my Karen mode too at the time. So I'm walking around going, what is this set?
Oh my God, I wish I had a picture or video of that. I've looked at these episodes too many times.
That is.
See, I should have taken a picture of me
brain.
on the other set, and I didn't think to do that. Yeah, but I was mesmerized walking around.
We only assumed that Barbara's character died. We saw a bloody shoe. Perhaps she may come back in some other form.
Yeah, because the little girl brought a picture. I don't know if it was.
No, that's her. That's her, and because she made friends.
Oh, that was her, and
I think so. That's what I thought.
Oh, well,
I thought she made
we just have to assume.
Cloggy.
We don't know for sure.
But maybe you're onto something, Ivotres. Maybe it's me and Cloggy, and we go down the drain together, and something happens, and then a new monster is reanimated.
Oh wow! Nice
that's
tying it together. That was.
Stephen, I have to say this. I have to say that you have been a big part of my childhood because you wrote some of the things I grew up with, and I can't believe it. And I'm like freaking out. So I just had to say it. You wrote an episode for Small Wonder. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, that's true. It's true.
Oh, Webster. Tiny Toons Adventures was my favorite show growing up. An episode for Saved by the Bell. And one of my favorites growing up, Family Matters. You did a lot with that one. And
Family
Malcolm
Matters
in the
is a good
Middle.
show.
That was, I'm like.
No, Malcolm and
my head
Eddie.
is like-
Malcolm and Eddie.
Oh, did I say Malcolm in the Middle?
Yeah, Malcolm and Eddie.
Malcolm and Eddie. I don't know why I said Malcolm in the Middle.
This is what happens to us.
See, I got too excited.
So many things in our minds. We got posted.
Malcolm and Eddie. Yeah. So that's amazing. And I'm glad you're sitting with us today.
Well, you know, we actually were like on Family Matters, we were quite the film fanatics. We actually made our own horror episode, Stevel, with the evil Urkel doll.
Oh,
you know. But
I remember that.
Yeah, I remember we had to play the first one for an audience because we made a sequel. And the first one was so scary, people were jumping up and they were screaming in the audience. We did the playback, so it generally was frightening. So it was.
Wow. Okay.
And hello for everybody that's just tuning in right now. I'm Cody with Nostalgic Nebula. I also have my co-host here, Ivotres Littles, with Horror Movies and Beyond. You are here for another edition of Convo X Fango Creepshow. If you'd like to get a 20% discount on Fangoria for a subscription, 25%, go ahead and use the promo code Fango20, Fango20 and that'll get you your discount. Josh and Stephen, and everybody else could probably add on to this if you'd like, but I'd like to know about your process about approaching horror and how that might be like or dissimilar to writing comedy, because I feel that you got to hit certain points. You got to have maybe a rhythm to get the scares to people.
Well, I mean, the thing with comedy and horror, you're trying to get the same result. You try to get a human reaction, physical reaction. Comedy, obviously, laughter, and horror, it's fear. You're trying to do, and so there's a little similarity in that. But when we write horror, we kind of go from the basis of, again, like Skin Crawlers was started out as like, oh, this thing happened to Paul, but then we started to think about the character and you know, what's his journey, but we felt, of course, that even though we had the worm bit, we felt that he couldn't be the victim of it. He had to be the one that says, no, this isn't for me. And he was actually right. You know, he's choosing a different path. So there's a lot of, the humanity you kept that you get, like the horror idea, the bit, but then you got to put that human element to it. That I think that's key. But I think that helps the horror because it makes it feel more real. The more real they feel, the more that I think you get sucked in by it.
I always feel a little sad when I hear about like, someone who's like, oh, I'm too scared to watch a horror movie. And I'm like, oh, come on, man, you're perfect because you have a sense of horror. You have a sense of being scared, right? And I mean, think about like, I can't watch that comedy. I laugh too much.
Yeah, I know, right? Oh, that's so funny.
It's like, oh my God, I get super scared too, and I want to. I don't have much history like writing comedy. I mean, like kind of like a little, I guess, but in terms of like with writing a Creepshow episode, Brian Whitten, the producer, I love that guy, and him and I were working on a couple other things, and he told me about Creepshow, and he asked me to submit a story. But this was such a big deal for me. I'm like, no, I am for sure making this happen. So I sent him like 20 stories. I was like, here's like 20, here's like everything I got, just pick one, And it seems like there's a bit of a, in Creepshow, like it's a bit punitive, right? I mean, it's like, the person that does something wrong gets gobbled up for it, right? Leslie Nielsen, even there's 2 revenges in that one. His wife cheats on him, right? Something like that, or they're cheating or whatever. He buries them, then they come back and get him for burying them, right? And Billy in the crate, and for sure, Thanks for the Ride, the hitchhiker. But the story that they picked, I didn't think they would have picked the one for me. It's not punitive. Nobody does anything wrong in the House of the Head. Not even the dolls don't do anything wrong. Like they don't even deserve it.
It's just interesting and creepy. It was creepy.
It's creepy and scary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and I'm a big fan of, and this is something I didn't like realize before I started writing, but after a while you begin to see patterns, right? But I'm a fan of like off-camera stuff, or maybe a story inside a story. So like Bird Box, the monsters are off camera. I have another book where a horror fan builds like a really scary house of horrors beneath the fun house of horrors at the state fair. And this one, there's a haunting in Evie's house, but it's not her house. It's inside the dollhouse. And Evie and her family are not affected by this. So I was surprised when Greg and Brian wrote me saying that that's what they wanted to do. But then I was so excited when they told me that John Harrison would be directing it. And I have this here. I already showed it before, but for anyone new, this is the original vinyl. And I'm talking, and I just know the name, and I know he directed Tales from the Dark Side, but I'm on the phone with him, and I was like trembling. I was like scared, I was like, because this is, I have here, let me just show you real fast. These are all horror movie soundtracks, all of those.
Great.
All of those.
Excellent.
A lot of them are originals and whatever. So I'm like, dude, this is like, you made what might be the greatest horror soundtrack of all time, And then I was like, I even have the original vinyl. And he was like, I don't even have that. And then for 1 second, I thought like, Josh, you should send it to him. And then I was like, nope, don't say that. You're not giving this thing away, not even to John Harrison. So I was like super excited with that. And then him and I started talking, and he told me about like the camera like going through the house, and I saw like stills from it. And then I started to understand why they picked that story, because it would be like adventurous to film for them and a different sort of like monster for them, The head is right there by you over your shoulder.
Oh yeah, so let's really get into that. The house of the head. I keep saying the head of the house. The house of the head. Josh, you wrote that, and it's about a little girl who got a dollhouse as a gift, and soon learns that a mystery severed head has deadly intentions. That is one of my favorites because it's so innocent. But yet it was so frightening, because even though the little figures that were in the house wasn't moving, it told a big story throughout. Like when they were looking up the steps, I was trying to look up the steps, but obviously you can't, like, what are they looking at? Their facial expressions and everything. And then this little head, well, it's big here, but when it was tiny, it to be so small, it was so creepy looking. And it would move through the house. And that story was just, I thought, really effective with just, with the smallest detail that I had to make it, because it was one of my favorites. Who designed that little head? Like the dolls and all of that? Because it just...
I don't know that answer. Do you, Chris?
Oh, okay.
I don't know who designed it. I just suddenly, received like amazing photos and, before they were
wow.
in the house and stuff. But yeah, I would, I think to a child, like what would be freakier than like looking in a dollhouse? And not only is there like a toy that doesn't belong, but it's not even yours.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait a minute, and you could, blame a lot on an imagination. Even a child could say, oh, I have an imaginary friend or this kind of thing. But in this case, it's not like, no, that's in the house. And then it started to seem a little, I don't know, it was exciting to me rather than seeing the dolls move throughout the house. Like you turn your back and you look back and they've changed. Something about that. It almost, I don't know, it almost starts to suggest that there's, you're not allowed to see the action, but there is always action. You're not allowed to see it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who designed. I mean, someone at the effects. I mean, someone there, I guess, did it.
Props, yeah, the props department. I can't remember the name of the guy, but those guys are all big horror geeks, and you can see all the Easter eggs in the house.
Yeah.
Chief
Josh, for me, that was the scariest episode.
Yeah.
That one really scared me.
It scared me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, wait till season 3.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's all I'll say is wait till because I
have you read the episodes already?
Oh,
I mean, they're filming them. They're filming them now.
No, they're done.
They're done. They're done with season
they're already
3.
done?
Because they did it right after season 2.
That's correct. They shot they rolled right into season 3. So they're in I'm scoring, but we're in post right now. So yeah, I just got scared. Malerman scared the shit out of me twice. And you guys haven't been scared yet.
Okay.
You'll be
well because of those
pretty good.
Of those 20 or 12 suggestions you had, so they picked another one.
Yes. No, I don't remember. No, I was 20. I was 20. Man, yeah, this.
I got this idea. I got that idea.
Yeah, Barbara. I was like, what did I write in high school? I want to send them everything. I'm gonna send. Maybe they'll make an episode out of this emo poem. Yeah.
But about I just want to say about your episode and what was scary about it too for me, and I don't know, maybe Stephen has a different feeling about it. I felt like it was really scary too, but it's that kind of thing where you look at something. And how often does this happen to everybody, that you think something's in a different spot or you think it's moved and you didn't do it? And I think that's really distressing to people, because I think it's happened to all of us. And it was done so well, and you witnessed that, and that was what's scary.
It's such an internal horror story. It's so quiet. That's what the quietness of it is terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Carpenter,
really
John Carpenter always said, there's two kinds of horror stories that go back to cave people sitting around the fire. And one of the earliest things that creates fear is the sense of what's supposed to be there isn't.
Mm-hmm.
What's supposed to be there is different. The something that is supposed to be recognizable and ordinary has been changed, and there's no explanation to it.
That's how I felt.
And it's as basic as that.
That's how I felt the first time I tried acid.
There you go.
I was like, wait a minute.
It's really frightening. It was. You see the perspective of the little girl too. Like she didn't even tell her parents. She was trying to figure it out herself. Getting a police officer and a priest. I mean, she was really trying to get rid of it. And then she tried to get rid of it her own way by throwing it out, and it was giant under her bed. So it would have became her problem. And she's like, nah, I can't do this. So she put it back. So that was
but it also mirrored what when you're a kid, when you think things, there's monsters under your bed, there's monsters in your dollhouse, there's monsters in your closet. You really feel that way. I mean, I had an experience when I was younger. I had asthma, and they used to give me this narcotic drug when I would have an episode, and it always made me, I found out the name of it at one time. I swear to God, I was like tripping on it when I was younger. But I remember going to sleep, and I would see people walking across my wall, and I had a bunk bed, and I would look up at the bunk bed, and robots were always opening a door and coming out from the underneath side of the top bunk bed. And sometimes they were strangling me, and I saw these things. I mean, they were like, maybe that's why I'm in the horror business, but I mean, I had these experiences when I was younger, but I And I don't think I told my mother that those things happened. I said, oh, I don't really like that medicine. I don't want to take that medicine. And she would say, you have to take the medicine. They don't give anybody that medicine anymore because it's, I don't think they need to, or it's not good for you. They found something else that works better. But I hated that medicine because it gave me these hallucinatory experiences that, were from my childhood. So when I saw your episode, I was like, oh, it kind of brings me back.
Steven, you guys are taking notes on this, right? That's a that's a movie right there.
I used to have these strangling dreams, being strangled in Sudbury, Massachusetts.
Uh-huh.
And then when I went to college, they would stop in Boston, and then I went back for the weekend. They'd start again.
That's
and then
so weird.
Someone told me that I was in a Revolutionary War battlefield. Where I lived was a battlefield.
Really?
In the Revolutionary War. So it's just like, well, yeah, that was any other house I went to, I would never have these dreams, just that house.
Well, speaking of nightmares, did anybody else at the beginning of the pandemic have any pandemic nightmares? Because about a couple of weeks in, I had a dream where I was stuck in a room with no windows and no doors. I would escape, but somehow I'd always end up back inside.
I don't know. The whole pandemic was scary enough to me that I didn't need nothing else that I could conjure up would be worse than that. I actually thought I was going to die. I thought, you know what? For my age and whatever, if I get it, that's it. I'm dead. I'm going to die. I really thought that. I was really fearful for many months.
I had a daymare. March 2020, the whole month of March that never ended. It seemed to go on and on. March just did not end.
It didn't end. It went on for a year.
It's just like, this is like.
What a crazy, Are you guys writing any pandemic, horror now? I mean, we all want to get out of that. Nobody wants to see that shit anymore, right?
The ironic.
But they're coming. They're coming.
The ironic thing of my situation, I was working on a Neil Marshall film called The Reckoning.
Yeah.
Which it's on Shudder right now, and it takes place during the Black Plague. And so we're writing this thing about witches in the what is it, 1600 England, and we're in the middle of it, and then all of a sudden there's a plague, and I have to evacuate Warner Brothers, and so that was interesting. Writing art meets life,
That was during the pandemic, because you were doing the music during the pandemic, because that just come out, but I thought, you're writing it during the first part of the pandemic.
We're going into post. And then the world blew up.
Wow. So, wow. Okay, you guys.
But wait a minute, season 3. You've hinted about season. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh no,
hinted about season 3. So happening? What's happening in season 3? Give us a little something.
Well, I'll tell you this. There's some of the comments I saw about season 2 were, well, these are fun. They're funny. These episodes are all kind of funny, and they were light, but like there wasn't a house of the head, if you will. You know what I'm saying? In terms of real horror, like playing it serious. And also, if you notice in like House of the Head, the way that Harrison, it was a choice between Greg. It probably was more Greg's direction. There aren't the comic book, the wacky Creepshow moments where you have someone freak out and you have the graphics behind you. It's all played straight. That's one of the things that makes the show great, is there's no rules to it. You could play something arch and campy, and then you could play something serious as a heart attack if you want. So I just, to that point is a lot of the episodes in season 3 are pretty scary, and there's a lot of world building. Yeah, it's a darker season than season 2 was.
Okay.
And Malerman's episode is pretty spooky.
Right on. What about mine?
Ooh.
I haven't seen. Wait a second. I did. I saw your. I can't see. I want to talk about it, but I can't talk about it.
Don't talk about it.
But Langford and Deanie's episode. It's very cool because. Shit, I can't say what's so cool about it, but I get to do musically. I get to do some culturally interesting things with the music and put it in a horror perspective. But that's a conversation for another day.
You guys got to work on multiple seasons, but they don't let the actors do that.
I'm cool with that.
Has anyone come back? Nobody.
Nobody.
Oh.
Nobody. We haven't repeated ourselves yet.
You know, back in the Twilight Zone days, that did happen.
Yeah,
it did. You'd see Jack Klugman all the time. You'd see Martin Landau.
But they did so many seasons. That's why. So maybe I'll get to come back if they do more seasons.
And Josh, Christopher, and Steven, do you find it a lot more fun or more challenging working like in short form on these shorter things rather than feature length?
Well, you know, the thing is that, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I gotta say that it's the ideas are, you know, bite-sized ideas. So they tend to be like, well, this is right for this format. I mean, I think we had a learning curve on Skin Crawlers, because when the first I think the outline originally, Henry had two friends and he worked at a zoo. And I said, well, no, we don't need that. And they were right. We just needed to get going straight off. So it was sort of, we didn't do we found we had to really figure out how to fit the story to budget and, you know, bring the thrills too.
Okay. So as we, you know, winding down, I did want to mention Christopher. So obviously you did the music for it. So the process of finding the right sound for each segment, how do you go by that process? Do you follow the script? How do you do that?
Yeah, you know, I generally look at the scripts. No offense, guys, but I usually skim through them just to get the basic outline, but I don't want to commit any kind of ideas or formulate any ideas to the script because so much of what I do is reactive to the visual. So what I read on page, I have my own impression, just like if you're reading a novel or something like that, you kind of use your own imagination, but that could be completely different in execution to what is on screen. So I usually wait to see, you know, what the performances are like, what the actors are like, how it's lit, all that stuff kind of influences how the music is. Because again, I'm supporting the storytelling. I think the big difference between, an artist that is like a pop artist or a rock star or whatever is, you're creating music from your own perspective and you're trying to present music that has, you know, you're trying to say something about yourself. Being a film composer is not about, you know, what I want to say. I'm there to support the storytelling. I bring my style and aesthetic to it, but at the end of the day, it's supporting dialogue, you know, the action, the emotions of the piece. So those are the things that I kind of, in what we have, you know, basically how it works is the show is already done. The actors have left. It's edited by the time I get on board. And then I have what's called the spotting session with Greg. And what that is we watch the episode and we talk about where music is, what the point of view of the music is, and even as importantly, where music shouldn't be, because you don't want to like beat people. It's a psychological art. It's a manipulative art form. So it's finding out how to make the music work for the storytelling. And that being said, you know, you had a question before about what's it like to work on an anthology versus, you know, like a film or a series where it's a, you know, continuing story. And the fun thing about Creepshow for me is that I get to kind of be a character actor, you know, with the music, because I'm not stuck with themes other than the kind of John Harrison construct that we wanted to keep for the main titles in the comic book interstitials, to kind of evoke the original show and show that this isn't a reboot, it's just a continuation, and we're honoring, you know, I try to honor Harrison and the music with that stuff. But once we get into the actual episode, there's no rules. So, you know, one episode called Pesticide, you know, Greg kind of felt like it had a John Carpenter vibe, and he tempted with Carpenter, you know, analog synth music. So I scored that kind of in a John Carpenter mode. And then the story right before it was called Dead and Breakfast, and I scored that. I used a harpsichord. It almost was like a Mick Vizzy thing. I was thinking about the Ghost and Mr. Chicken, and I was thinking about like Addams Family and how to make the story about these two people that were owning this bed and breakfast that, you know, their grandmother was an axe murderer. So I felt like that harpsichord kind of gave it I look for an instrument or a sound to hopefully make each episode have its own sound palette, if that makes sense.
And I remember you were saying in the episode that I did that you brought in some Looney Tunes.
Yeah, well, listen. By the time Eric is fighting a hair clog on his hand, it's total Looney Tunes.
So you're all over the place. Yeah.
That's
so fun.
So yeah, and I scored you very much like a femme fatale. One of my favorite things is Barbara in her intro. She comes in and this light hits her and she does this thing with her hair. She goes, the hair, it just clogs differently.
Yeah.
And I scored the movement because, and that's the thing. That's what I was saying before. That's a great example of, I'm saying for me, it's a reactive art form. Like I'm vibing off of what Barbara brought to that scene. That's not even dialogue, it's attitude, and the music supports that attitude.
Okay. Wow. This question is for all of you. Why do you think Creepshow is still going strong now? What is keeping it going?
Because we have the best horror fans out there. We have the most supportive horror fans. It's fun. Yeah. It's like, people love good stories, and we can tell, awesome, great stories, but everybody loves special effects. Greg is a master special effects person. It's ripe for that kind of storytelling with, some creature, some weird, odd thing. And there's no better effects company in the business. And then you're marrying it with all these expert storytellers. And, it's...
Another weird thing I thought earlier today is that Creepshow like encapsulates a lot of eras, but like not in a traditional way. Like, okay, you got the 50s EC comics, right? Then you got 60s and 70s Romero. He's present. Then obviously you have 80s. It comes out in the 80s. It's Stephen King. It's the height of the 80s. And then even the 90s has Tales from the Crypt, which is also based on EC comics and harkens back to Creepshow. So it's like if you were into horror for any moment in time of that, and we're talking about forever, Creepshow might speak to you.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
we do have a built-in audience. Creepshow has a long audience, a long-lived audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, a deep audience.
And it's a classic film. It's so unique. Nothing. I mean, look at that. Nothing looks like that before. This is my screensaver that I just vibe out on when I'm getting ready to work. It's just all these stills from Creepshow, but nothing. I think it's the nostalgia for the original, and the uniqueness of it, the originality of again. There's anthologies, but nothing looked or sounded like this, or was as funny and like the Savini horror, the gore. It nothing looked like that before. Nobody ever experienced that.
Yeah, that's the style of it. The style of it, it's so unique. It's a mashup of all these different things that we love. But it gets into it's in the ether, and it's not going to go away. It's just like one of those kinds of pieces.
And it's fun.
It's fun.
For Creepshow, for Creepshow 2, I wanted to go back to that real quick. Out of all the segments, the hitchhiker was the scariest. For this question's for Tom. Why do you think that one is so like memorable and frightening? Because when I talk to people about Creepshow 2, that's the first thing. It's the hitchhiker.
I could come up with some logical answer, but it probably wouldn't be sufficient. I think that it taps into something in people that is frightening to them. I think a woman alone in a car on a deserted road with something that's attacking her that she keeps thinking she has dealt with it. I mean, I think that what makes it scary may be that, you'd like to think that you've killed the monster if you're placing yourself in the character's shoes, and to have it continually come back is pretty scary. And I one thing I wanted to add actually about Creepshow period is, and the genre, is that I think it also taps into something that defined us as children. horror is either it's for you or it is not. And if it's for you, you know about it usually pretty early, you know, when you're pretty young. So there's a certain continuity of feeling to be able to know that me as a 7-year-old who was terrified of Mothra, you know, is going to be terrified watching. The same person is going to be terrified and get a lot of pleasure out of the experience watching you know, one of the Saw movies or whatever. But I think that's one of the reasons it's endured, and I think I also agree with Josh's assessment as well. I have not tuned in to the Creepshow TV show, but you can damn sure bet I will be as soon as we get off.
I want to.
Yeah.
I want to add
One of us.
Tom, I want to add something to the Hitchhiker episode. Like totally everything you said for sure. And then, but it's almost like there's what's the right thing? Like, was she having an affair? The woman that goes driving alone, was she having an affair before she hits you or whatever? Right?
She could have been. I'm gonna split the difference on that one.
Yeah, she did something wrong. Okay, she did something wrong or whatever. So then it was like hitting the guy is bad enough, but she doesn't enter the creep show zone until she decides to drive off from that, to leave.
Exactly.
And that's the scary part. Is like, I don't want to call it the zone because the Twilight Zone, but you entered the creep show. It wasn't hitting
morality tale.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the moment you made that like greedy, self-serving, dismissing other people. When you make that decision, that's when you turn into the creep show.
The creep show choice.
Yeah, the
creep show choice. What choice are you gonna make? Yeah.
This is all.
Don't make the creep show choice. Not gonna
I wonder what would have happened in the episode had she apologized.
Right.
Oh, yeah. I thought of that too.
I hit you. Yeah.
And he'd be
or
like,
stayed and helped him.
Okay, fine, man.
Yeah.
But she never owned it.
Yeah.
All of this is making me want Steven and me to write an episode that stars Tom and Barbara.
Yeah.
And Christopher.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Come on.
Sure.
We don't need them. Let's
Got
just
it.
do it now. We've got the
No.
time. Let's go.
Listen, no, I've been saying this for a while.
Sure.
I would love to actually direct a short. So can we all get together and talk about something and we can
Yeah.
like do it
Yeah,
together?
all of us.
Just
Yeah.
a little,
As
just
long
a
as
little short.
I don't
It's
mind getting
Ivotres.
killed in it. I don't mind getting killed in it.
You
I
want to
wanna
be in it too? We have to write a part for Ivotres.
Like,
But since you have 20 ideas, Josh, and I'm sure Steven has 150 because he's been working for 150 years and has 300,000 credits.
I think we had 30 over 3 seasons.
30 ideas.
Oh, 30 ideas over 35, something like that.
You guys write it and I'll find you.
All right.
We'll find you.
You'll find us, yes.
All right, folks, you heard it here. The conspiracy.
Yeah.
Shudder that you want to see these new episodes with Tom Wright and with Barbara Crampton, everybody. We've been doing Convo, Fango, everybody, Creepshow. Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to subscribe to Fangoria and get some spooky discounts, use promo code Fango20 and
or Creepshow 25.
Or Creepshow 25. And folks, before we take off, I wanted to give you a chance. Maybe we'll start with Josh. If you want to let anybody know where they could find your next project or maybe a next appearance.
Yes. I mean, it's just easy. It's just Josh Malerman. On Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all that. But my website used to be boring, but it got exciting recently because I serialized the novel like live. Like I wrote it that day and put up the chapter that night. Wrote it that day and
cool.
And so there is a full novel just sitting on joshmalerman.com. There's no reviews, views, likes. Like it's just sitting there to be read, and it's nowhere else. And it's like a 300-page book.
Why did you decide to do that?
Yeah, so in the near the beginning of the pandemic, like in April and May, I was seeing a bunch of people wherever everyone's freaking out about money's being tight. I was sitting down to write anyway, and I was like, you know what? I don't know when this book would ever come out. I mean, I had no idea how good or bad it would be, but I was like, I don't, let's just give this one out. Let's give this one for free. We'll post it every day on the website. It would start to become a bit of a high wire act because halfway through you're like, I don't know how this ends, But we made it. So the website joshmalerman.com has got more fun because of that. And there's only one Alan Malerman. I always remind people of that.
Are you still in the band?
Oh yeah.
High Strung?
Yeah.
Okay. So I am so excited because Shameless is one of my favorite shows, really? And he does the opening theme song.
Yeah.
Luck You Got.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
oh, that's amazing. Really?
And also wrote the novel that inspired Bird Box, the movie, right?
Yeah.
Bird Box.
Oh yes. See,
but
you
that
guys,
band,
it's fabulous. It's just so much fabulous.
I'm so glad you brought them up. The band, these are my best friends since we were 11 years old. The band, we're all just like best friends. The other songwriter in the band was over here last night. We were like working on stuff. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. All right.
we're gonna have to license a track for season 3 somewhere.
Dude, we talked to Brian about that. Yeah. Anyway,
all right, I'm on it.
Yeah, me too.
And Barbara, you have been a very, very busy lady. Jacob's wife has been doing phenomenal. Congratulations on that.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited. Yeah, we opened at the South by Southwest Film Festival, and it's available just about anywhere you can hit play. It's coming to Shudder in August 13th, I think, somewhere around there. But we got a very good response, and it only took me 5 years to make this movie. It was a personal project for me, so thank God, it's out there, and I'm really happy with it. And yeah, I hope everybody will watch it if they haven't.
I love that movie.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
I still have to see it.
Ivotres, I thought we were friends. Come on.
I know.
All this time.
I've seen everything else, but it's just that one. I don't know why. I've been so busy doing other stuff. Look, I've been making.
Okay. You're busy. I know. No, you're writing for all these different sites now, and you're with Fangoria, and stuff's happening for you.
Yeah. But I'll watch it. I swear I'll watch it.
Okay.
And Stephen, you've been busy as well. Helliversity that you're working on as well?
That's in development.
Okay.
That's in development. There's some things I'm sworn to secrecy on.
Okay, we pretend I didn't say it.
More things that I can't talk about. I did to finish my first sci-fi novel,
awesome.
which I'm not. Dad was like, Josh, man, that's a tough job. You got a tough job. Let me say it. It's like it's a lot of work.
Is that harder to write a sci-fi than something else?
Sci-fi. I'm a novel. I mean, fiction is much harder to write, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
But you can follow me at S Langford Scare on Twitter. Anybody out there? But yeah, and I have other movie projects that are actually action movie type stuff that's ongoing. So there's just a lot of things going on. I'm writing a pilot for someone. I was just finishing that up, finishing up that job before we started this. So I'm sort of all over the place.
Okay. And Tom, any projects coming up that we should be looking out for?
There's a couple of things happening. One is an Amazon series that I can't talk about, and I can't even mention the name.
Okay.
But it's actually a really great project that I'm really lucky to be part of. And there's a feature I directed with David Strathairn and Jeffrey Dean Morgan that's on Amazon Prime. If anybody has some stimulus money they want to toss our way, we'll gladly take it. And I sort of my career is at a point where I tell everyone that since 1978, I was the pygmy in the tall grass with a bow and arrow chasing that warthog, through the brush. And now that I'm post 65, I just sit down in the lawn chair and wait for the warthog to walk by. So you know, I there are things in the works, but I'm also enjoying slowing down just a little bit.
And well, Christopher, obviously working on season 3 with some music, and you can't tell us nothing. So
I can only tell you that I'm working on season 3 with some music.
But you could say what flavor. Okay. You could say
anything
what flavor
else outside of Creepshow. Anything outside of Creepshow?
Yeah, let me think. I got a couple things on deck. The Reckoning right now. Neil Marshall's movie's on Shudder, streaming. I've got a movie through Blumhouse called The Manor, directed by Axel Carolyn, who directed Dead and Breakfast, and also an episode in season 3 that hasn't obviously come out yet. And that stars Barbara Hershey. It's kind of interesting because that story is about, it's nice to see the protagonist be a 70-year-old woman who is in an assisted living place, and there's things that are coming to take these forgotten elderly people in the night, and it's kind of a cool story. Also with Bruce Davison, who is also in Creepshow, and Willard, of course, in Night of the Paw. So that, I think I'm not too sure. I think that's coming out maybe Halloween time, right alongside season 3. And do I have no? I think the Batman thing I did came out already. Batman: Death in the Family, which is based on the original comic book series at Warner Brothers. That's all I can talk about. I can't say anything else. I'm sworn to secrecy.
That's all right.
There's a lot of swearing to secrecy.
Well, I know, right?
I swear to secrecy.
That's the problem with our question of upcoming projects.
I know.
Can't say nothing.
That would be amazing if it was all the same secret and we didn't even know each other.
You're on that. You're doing The Secret too? Wow.
Mind blown. Christopher, Neil Marshall, is that the same Neil Marshall that wrote 13 Ghosts from 21?
No, this would be the Neil Marshall that did The Descent.
Oh, okay, The Descent.
The Descent and Dog Soldiers.
Excellent.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
13 Ghosts was
Neil Marshall
William
Stevens.
Castle. Oh no, I'm thinking of the OG.
Oh, okay,
yeah, he went
William
old school.
Castle. Yeah, William Castle. He put the goggles on to see the ghosts. Percepto vision.
Percepto, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Right. Okay. So before we go, I just have to say this. Thank you guys so much for participating in the Convo Fango Creepshow panel. I really do appreciate when we reach out to you guys and you took the time to sit with us and have our viewers watch. And you guys got to see my awesome stuff that I created for this.
Bravo. Beautiful. Nicely done.
So, because horror means a lot to me. I grew up, that's all, man. Since I was 4 years old, I saw my first horror film. And when I tell people what it is, they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. It's The Thing. The Thing was the first horror film I saw with my parents. They made me watch it because I was trying to sneak and watch it while they were trying to watch it. So they told me to sit there, and because I kept trying to cover my eyes, it was like, no, you're going to watch it. And that is it. So the first scene that I remember is when Norris's head came sliding down and turn into some spider and crawl away. So imagine a 4-year-old girl. And that's
wow.
And you said at 4 years old, you got to be fucking kidding me.
Yeah.
So, and it ended up becoming my favorite horror film. So
yes.
So it became a big part of me. But horror is life. Horror is everything. It has saved my life. It has brought me to amazing people. And I hope that it takes me to a place like beyond my dreams. And thank you guys. It's so awesome to sit here. I was this little girl watching your films or listening to your music or seeing you, being attached on someone's car as they're trying to run away.
Thanks for the Zoom, lady.
Yes.
It's just an amazing experience, and I couldn't ask for anything else. So thank you guys.
Thank
you.
Thank you guys.
you.
Thanks everybody. It was so nice to chat with everybody.
Yes, thanks everybody.
Yeah.
This has been really great. Tom Wright, love to have you here. I see you in syndication like every day on Seinfeld. You're my favorite. You're my favorite boss. You were my favorite boss on there.
Oh boy, yeah.
I want to thank Fangoria, for helping us put this together. Me and Ivotres. Fangoria was kind enough to sponsor an event of mine back in 2018. We did a 30th anniversary screening of Hellraiser and Hellraiser 2. We had composer Christopher Young come over, and we had a string quartet perform a live tribute. Oh yes, love Chris. Chris and Chris. Yeah. We got to get that show. We got to get that show together.
I can do a mean Christopher Young impression.
That's it. No, he's a beautiful man. We had such a great time with him, and with Fangoria coming over. Anyways, folks, once again, for you at home, if you'd like to get yourself some spooky discounts on Fangoria, be sure to use the discount code Fango20, as well as what was the other one, Ivotres?
Creepshow 25.
Creepshow 25. You'll get some really great discounts, and you get to get back to reading the good stuff on some printed material. That's a lot of fun. So happy that Fangoria is back. My wonderful co-host, thank you, Ivotres. Thank you, Josh, Christopher, Barbara, Tom, and Stephen. And thank you, everybody at home. This has been Convo X Fango Creepshow. We'll see you next time. Have a good night.